Did you ever imagine that Japan, the only country that has suffered the horrors of the nuclear bomb, could suddenly become a new nuclear arms race arena in Asia? Did you ever imagine that Japan, the country described as the land of peace, would come out today threatening this Chinese giant? With war? Today we have a shocking statement, we have a bold move, we have a strategy that could spark major changes in the world. Today we will delve into the behind the scenes of this unprecedented statement from the Prime Minister of Japan, and I will reveal to you the background of the dangerous political game currently being played between America and Japan. What is Japan planning? What exactly does Trump want? Is this really the beginning of preparations for a major war, or is it something else? We have important details today. Stay with us, dear viewers. Peace be upon you and God's mercy and blessings. Welcome to today's renewed episode, God willing, from the series of Opinion Today. Dear viewers, there was a very serious statement in Japan, a statement that came from the Prime Minister. In Japan, a statement paves the way for the beginning of a new and truly suspicious phase. And this phase is definitely coming, given the rapid events that the world has witnessed today. Anyway, what did the Prime Minister of Japan say? She said that she supports the deployment of American nuclear weapons on Japanese soil, meaning in Japan. She said that a complete ban on importing nuclear weapons might weaken America's deterrent power, and therefore American nuclear weapons should be deployed on Japanese soil, so that America can be strong in the region, so that America has deterrent power in this Asian region. Today, so that everyone knows, the Japanese government is seriously considering lifting these restrictions and is seriously considering importing nuclear weapons from America. This statement might just be a prelude to this stage. Why do I say this? Because there is a new defense strategy that will be announced in Japan very soon. And this strategy will definitely include the presence of nuclear weapons, as if there are statements paving the way for that. In the opposition in Japan, the Japanese government was asked for a direct answer regarding these three principles of nuclear policy that Japan adopts, which of course are also adopted by all countries of the world according to a set of international agreements. We are talking about the prohibition of the proliferation of nuclear weapons, principles that ensure no more nuclear weapons are produced, ensure that new countries do not acquire nuclear weapons, and also ensure that countries that already have these weapons do not deploy them further. So the Japanese opposition, after these statements made by the Prime Minister, asked the government for clarifications. Does Japan still respect or rely on these three principles or not? Here the answer was shocking. The Prime Minister of Japan refused to answer directly and only said that it is not yet time to reveal the details of the new defense strategy. This raises a real question. Will nuclear weapons actually be deployed on Japanese soil or not? This is a very serious matter. It will open the door to a very dangerous competition between the major nuclear powers. Currently, only a handful of countries possess nuclear weapons, no more than 9 countries. This weapon will become widespread all over the world if there is an intention to deploy nuclear weapons in Japan, which is located in a very sensitive area surrounded by North Korea, China, and Russia. These countries, China, Russia, and North Korea, will not rest until they take similar steps. We will then also see the spread of nuclear weapons in Venezuela, for example, or in one of the African countries or elsewhere. A group of countries that have strong relations with China, Russia, or North Korea. So nuclear weapons will then be in the hands of all countries in the world. This is the path the world is heading toward today. Pay attention to Trump's statements from yesterday. What did he say? He said that America will resume nuclear testing just like other countries. The world is truly heading toward very dangerous scenarios. The world is preparing for something serious that's coming. This Japanese Prime Minister, and pay close attention here, this Japanese Prime Minister did not only talk about nuclear weapons. Just a few hours before this statement, she made other statements. She brought Japan into one of the most dangerous diplomatic crises ever. Because of these statements, Japan and China entered into a series of war threats. Today, there is extreme tension between Japan and China. The Japanese Prime Minister said that any Chinese attack on Taiwan would be considered a threat to Japan, and therefore Japan would be forced to intervene militarily. This is what she said, a very serious statement, and China considered it a threat of war against them. Because now Japan has put itself in a position as if there is a joint defense agreement, not with another country, but with a region that wants to secede. Honestly, it's strange because this is considered blatant interference in the internal affairs of that country. Because today, the whole world recognizes China and does not recognize Taiwan. There are only 14 countries in the entire world that recognize Taiwan, and all of these 14 countries are small nations. They have no influence at all. We're talking about countries like Haiti, the Vatican, Eswatini, basically countries that have no real influence. Even Japan does not recognize Taiwan. More than that, even the United Nations does not recognize Taiwan. And yet Japan comes out and says that if China annexes Taiwan, the military Japanese will intervene. So this means the Chinese response came quickly from the spokesperson of the Chinese Ministry of Defense. He made a statement saying that Japan will suffer a crushing defeat if it decides to intervene militarily in the Taiwan issue. He said that Japan should learn from history. If Japan intervenes, it will pay a very heavy price. The Japanese Prime Minister has opened the door to a very serious escalation. The Chinese people are very angry about this statement, and she has sparked hostile exchanges between Chinese and Japanese officials. Today, tension and conflict exist between the Chinese and Japanese on social media and elsewhere. For example, the Chinese Consul General in Osaka, Japan, wrote on his account on Platform X that China has no choice but to cut off the head of anyone who attacks China. This is a reference to these hostile statements from Japan. A statement like this is very serious, and it also caused a huge uproar because it came from a diplomat from inside Japan, from the heart of one of Japan's most important major cities, Osaka. So imagine with me that there is a consul of a foreign country working in one of the Moroccan cities, for example, working in one of the Moroccan cities, and he comes out with statements against Morocco or against the president of the Moroccan government. Anyone who knows diplomatic work knows exactly what I mean here. So after all this commotion, what happened? The Prime Minister of Japan tried to ease the tension of this situation, but as the Moroccan saying goes, she made it worse because of what she said. After that, she said that her statements about Taiwan were based only on the worst possible scenario in the region, meaning that Japan acknowledges that the scenario of China annexing Taiwan is the worst possible scenario for them. So what did China do next? They summoned the Japanese ambassador, then gave him a sharp reprimand for these statements. And there was a statement from the Chinese Deputy Foreign Minister who said that this Japanese Prime Minister has offended the feelings of 1.4 billion Chinese people. He said that the Chinese people will not accept this. He said that these statements violate international law and the principles of the world order regarding relations between countries. Because, as I said, when a country says it will intervene militarily to protect another country, it's considered very normal here. But if this intervention is to protect a separatist region seeking unrecognized independence, a state not recognized internationally, then this is completely abnormal. And indeed, this is a violation of the principles of the world order that was established after World War II. And here, everyone should pay attention because today everyone will definitely ask this question about Japan. Why is it involving itself in this issue now? The one about Taiwan, is this happening without any Is it just for interest? Is it only coming from Trump's orders or what? The truth is that these Japanese statements are coming because the date of China's invasion of Taiwan is getting very close. These events are bringing that date closer as China has become militarily ready for all scenarios. China is planning to make deals that will allow it to invade Taiwan with the least possible losses, but what is making Japan come out with these threats? China also rejects Taiwan, and today it is making these statements publicly. Why? And it sees China's invasion of Taiwan as a real threat to itself. This decision will have a very serious impact on Japan at all levels. Everyone should know this, on the military level, the economic level, the energy level, the geopolitical level, and so on. If China annexes Taiwan, Japan will be in real trouble. The first threat Japan will face then will be about a group of Japanese islands located in the area called the Ryukyu Islands. These islands are only 100 kilometers away from Taiwan. These islands witnessed fierce battles during World War II. Before World War II, these islands were under Chinese influence and the islands used to pay tribute to China. Moreover, among these islands, there are some called the Senkaku Islands, which China officially claims because they are located within China's continental shelf. China says that Japan has no right to control them. So, what does Japan say? What if China annexes Taiwan? At that point, all of China's focus will shift to these islands, meaning China will start claiming them. And everyone should know this situation is exactly like what's happening between Morocco and Algeria over the Sahara issue. Algeria embraced the Polisario and gave them all the support for 50 years. But in reality, it's not like some people say today that they want access to the Atlantic Ocean. Absolutely not. But it's because they know that Morocco actually has lands that Algeria controls since France withdrew from the region and Morocco will demand them. They know very well that if Morocco settles the Sahara issue, it will open the eastern border issue with Algeria and then it will focus all its efforts on this file. That's why Algeria, for the past decades, has made the Sahara issue a top priority. To distract Morocco and keep it focused on this issue instead of the eastern border. And these occupied Moroccan cities like Bashar and Tindouf, it's the same thing today. You know that if China takes Taiwan, it will open the issue of these islands, especially when China takes Taiwan. The territorial waters of these islands will then border China instead of with Taiwan. So there will be. That means Chinese military pressure. China will then completely encircle the southern Japanese islands. It will breach Japan's defensive belt and enter the Pacific Ocean for the first time with full military force, making Japan strategically exposed to China. So that's the first reason. The second reason is also economic. Today, Japan's economy relies more than 90% on energy imports coming through the waters of Taiwan. So if China annexes Taiwan, Japan will be at China's mercy. It will be very easy for China then to strangle the Japanese economy, to pressure it politically, to blackmail it however it wants in every political matter. Japan will then have two options. Either to change all its political orientation toward China instead of America, or it will enter a very serious economic crisis. Also, when we talk about Taiwan, we're talking about the world's center for manufacturing electronic chips. If China controls Taiwan, it means China controls this technological power and will become the biggest technological power in the world. And this will lead the Japanese economy to the abyss, because the Japanese economy also depends on technological industries such as electronics, cars, and so on. At that point, Japan will not be able to keep up with the market. It won't be able to compete with China, and all the leading Japanese companies in the world will collapse then. And here, everyone should pay attention to this exact reason. Trump is doing everything he can to move chip factories from Taiwan and China to Sorry, he knows that a Chinese invasion of Taiwan is inevitable, and for this reason as well, China is holding back today. It is not rushing to annex Taiwan militarily. China is militarily ready and capable of annexing Taiwan. We can say that within a few hours from the start of this conflict, it has plans and military technologies that will enable it to finish these tasks in just a few hours. But why? Is it holding back because it doesn't want to cause destruction to Taiwan's infrastructure and industry? It doesn't want a devastating war. It wants to annex Taiwan as it is today, with its factories intact and undamaged. And with all this enormous production capacity, I mean with all these economic and industrial resources, it doesn't want to annex a scorched island. It doesn't want to annex an island that adds nothing to the Chinese economy. Instead, it wants to gain gross domestic product. In addition, today it is looking for other solutions, looking for possible deals that it can make with Trump in this context or anything of that sort. That's why there's a very big conflict over Taiwan, and that's why we see American and Japanese intervention and their rejection of any attempt to annex Taiwan. Annexing Taiwan would turn the situation in this region upside down. So here, everyone should pay attention to the fact that after the end of World War II, there was never a complete end to all these conflicts that exist today. Over the past decades we've lived through, we were only in a truce. The World War in reality never ended. It was just a truce until a later date. That later date is approaching very quickly today. But what's strange today is when we hear statements like this from the Prime Minister of Japan. Is Japan really capable of military intervention against China? What if China actually starts a military operation in Taiwan? Is Japan capable of stopping China? Is it capable of facing this Chinese giant? Even if Japan acquires nuclear weapons from America, will it be able to use these weapons? I mean, China's area is more than 10 times that of Japan, and China's population is more than 12 times that of Japan. How can Japan confront China? This time the war is completely different from what it was in previous periods of history. This is not a conventional war, it's not a war with swords. Japan in the past was militarily superior, but that was in the past. It was known for its strong military doctrine and so on. But today there are completely different factors that have nothing to do with the past. If a war starts there, Japan will disappear from the face of the earth completely. So, maybe some people are wondering why Trump's Japanese friend made these statements about nuclear weapons and Taiwan and so on, when she knows that her country is in no position to confront China at all. So what's the purpose of that? I'll tell you why. Because Trump now wants to move all the semiconductor factories from Taiwan to America. Today he's putting pressure, he's pushing this tension to pressure these factories, to pressure the owners of these factories that war is coming. Pay close attention, they should leave Taiwan immediately or else they'll be at risk of destruction. That's what it means. Trump wants to win over these factories. He wants to keep them away from Chinese ambitions. He wants to leave the island empty without any huge strategic or economic value, especially considering what the future holds. These factories are the industries of the future. China knows this plan very well, and that's what makes the tension even higher. In the end, China will not allow this plan, of course. Therefore, we find that the scenario of war is actually approaching very quickly. The only question that remains is, when will this happen? Just answer us in the comments.